Thank you, everyone, for joining and attending the Acumatica Construction ERP webinar today. Hopefully, you will learn something new. Feel free to ask questions whenever. We want it to be interactive. We don't want to just, well, Mike doesn't want to talk at you for 45 minutes to an hour. We would much rather have a conversation, ask questions. We feel like it's a lot better use of your time to ask questions as opposed to us just showing you what we think you want to see as opposed to showing you what you really want to see. So my name is Adam Grossman. I am the Director of Customer Success at Confianz. Been here for 3.5 years and work with Mike. He's in the pre-sales and I'm in the post and the implementation, making sure the project goes smoothly, successfully, on time, and within budget. All right, Mike.
Great, and I'm Mike Duberstein. I am, as Adam mentioned, on the pre-sales side. I come from the construction industry, which is really one of my area of passion, and worked with a number of ERPs before I met and fell madly in love with Acumatica about 5 years ago. Live in Maine, as I mentioned before, and can't wait to show you guys a taste of what Acumatica can do.
Awesome. All right, so let's, so quick agenda here. Not much detail because we wanted to keep it flexible in terms of what we could address. We didn't want to be pigeonholed into anything. Obviously, we got the introductions. We're getting that out of the way. We're going to go into the Acumatica Construction ERP. Mike's going to show you probably some of the more widely used elements and modules of it, and maybe some tips and tricks on there, and then we'll go into a formal QA. But again, if you feel like you want to ask a question, just feel free, raise your hand. We'll be monitoring the QA portion of it on the Zoom controls. So that's us. We are ready to introduce ourselves. We can skip that slide. Quick about Confianz. We've been in business a little over 16 years. We have a high customer retention rate. We've completed hundreds of projects. We have over 100 employees, certified Acumatica partner, and we're looking forward to spending the next about 50 minutes or so with you and teaching you about Acumatica and answering your questions. So I am going to pass it over to Mike.
Fantastic. All right, so you guys should be seeing my screen now. Adam set the table really nicely in terms of the way that we want to approach this. I'm definitely planning on showing you some stuff here, specifically around dashboards and how Acumatica can revolutionize your business with that capability. But this is definitely not a save your questions till the end environment. I do want to leave some time at the end to be able to go to specific things that you guys are curious about seeing and want to see in more depth. So I'll try and spare at least 15 minutes for that at the very end. But if you have questions about what we're covering as we're going through the system, definitely speak up, and I'll try and answer those questions as they come up. So with that said, we're in Acumatica now, and as I had mentioned, dashboards is going to be the big focus of the first part of this session. Now, we're actually kind of looking at a dashboard now, believe it or not. I'll touch on this format of dashboard in just a little bit because there's a specific use case for dashboards like this that might be helpful for those of you who are on the call. But I'm going to quickly go over to a CFO dashboard to start this thing off. And in order to give you more context for what we're looking at here, I wanted to briefly address dashboards as a sales tool, because I think that they've gotten a reputation to an extent of being something that look really flashy on a demo or in a sales call, but then you buy a product, you never use the dashboards, they're not accurate anyways, and the substance of how to process data is the more important thing. And I can understand why, if any of you on the call feel that way, that is how you feel, because historically, really that has been the case. And to give a little bit more context around that, construction ERP has been around for a while. It's been around since the 80s. The first versions were released on Microsoft DOS. I am old enough to remember that, actually, playing games on DOS on my dad's computer. I was a kid, I'll admit it, but those were the first forms of construction ERP. As we moved to like a Windows environment, there were a number of products in the 80s and 90s that came out that were more softwares that we're kind of used to today. And they came out with reporting tools and pre-built reports, and they were very rigid systems that were defined specifically for specific industries. If you didn't fit into those softwares, you had to do a lot in Excel, find workarounds and all of those types of things. I used a number of those systems in my prior life before I met, and as I mentioned, fell madly in love with Acumatica about 5 years ago. But there wasn't really any form of business intelligence or dashboards that would come out of those systems. And oftentimes, if you wanted to get good reporting out of them, you had to leverage something like a Crystal Reports tool. But you guys weren't expecting me to just show a Google result with a bunch of images here. So I'm full of surprises today. But Crystal Reports, I'm sure many of you on the call are familiar with this, was a tool that was used to glean information based on the information in your ERP. But the tool itself, as you can see with some of these slides, not that intuitive to use, not very easy to build your own custom reports. The visualization and representation of the data in a visual way was limited, to say the least about it. Yeah, you'd have to either become an expert and a consultant level type individual to create these reports, or pay a consultant to design them for you because they're complicated to actually execute. Fast forward to the advent of business intelligence tools like Microsoft Power BI, for an example, and there's a number of systems out there that can pull data from many different ERPs and slice and dice that data in a much more modern and responsive way, as you can see with this GIF that I've got up here as well. This looks a lot more modern, but it also, by the way, can be a little bit misleading, which is another reason I think dashboards have been seen as just a sales tool with no substance, because this might be coming from a legacy environment. It might be syncing once a week, overnight, potentially. Very rarely is it real time, depending on the system that you're coming from. And so you might be reviewing midday a dashboard that's no longer relevant, depending on what data has been entered since the last time that it was updated. It being kind of disconnected from the system itself and not live and real time would be one of the issues with this methodology, but you can still get some good value from this. Fast forward to today, and Acumatica being a much more modern cloud-based platform, these dashboards draw from BI in pretty powerful ways, and allow for you to visualize data the way that you want. But it's much more than just a sales tool for a couple of key reasons. As I'd mentioned, those dashboards in the past just surface the type of information that we're looking at here. And that's true also with Power BI. You know, you can get all of this information in Power BI without a doubt, but if you want to know about details that have to do with total AR, you can't do what I just did and click in to total AR to see your entire customer list and get more context about that. Acumatica is also flexible with the way that you can render this data once you've drilled into it. So I'm just simply going to sort by descending and find my worst performing AR customer, Star America Toys. I'm sure for everyone on the call, they're a slow to pay customer as well. And I can actually, in what I like to refer to as drill down inception, can click in here and go to my list of all of the invoices for America Star Toys. I can never get their name right. And even use a side panel here to be able to see the invoice, email it out from the system, pay it from here, or write it off. I don't know that you'd want to do that with an invoice to that amount. But all of that to say, the substance of these dashboards, part of the substance is the ability to click into them to get to much more detail. Even though this dashboard is by definition an executive dashboard, it can still have you get to the point where you're looking at something you need to take action on. And that's part of what makes this so powerful, is that there's substance behind every click rather than just surfacing information. If you're saying, hey, it's 8.28 AR overdue, that's good information to know, but like I need to then go run an AR aging report to get more information. So it doesn't really give me much. Acumatica remedies that. Of course, you still can run individual reports for all of these things as well. In fact, as you can see here, you can hyperlink to financial statements and other areas of the software from here as well. So it doesn't limit the reporting and the types of things that you're used to, but it does empower you to get answers right from here without having to go and play with a bunch of reports and all of that. The other piece, though, that I want to mention here is the ability to modify these dashboards as well. You can see that I've got a bunch of information pulling from cash, from personnel, and payroll, as well as from projects right here on the CFO dashboard. Whereas like a more generic CFO dashboard might just be the top level. Now, the ability to pull data from all of the different areas here on the left-hand side and a bunch more that I've hidden today is what makes this so powerful. It's not like Acumatica sitting back in their offices in Washington State thinking, what might a CFO want to see? And then it either works for you or it doesn't. You have the ability to hit design here, which can allow you to add new widgets from any of the areas in the system here. So if I want to add a chart, a data table, if I want to embed something or a pivot table, a KPI, I've got a lot of options here. One thing I wanted to call out is the Power BI tiles. So there is definitely some merit to using a business intelligence tool. Inherently, those business intelligence tools are going to be able to give you different insights than any dashboarding or reporting tool really can, because that's what they're dedicated to. Because Acumatica is built on a Microsoft technology stack, it's integrated with Power BI out of the box. So you could choose what data to expose to Power BI, blend it, slice it in that environment, and then you have the ability at that point to embed the results of it back in Acumatica. So you don't even have to go to the BI website in order to be able to see the results of that. You can have it be a single sign-on experience where you're viewing everything from the Power BI environment within the login experience within Acumatica. So it's not that we're entirely replacing BI type tools. In fact, there's a number of tools that integrate from a BI perspective on the Acumatica marketplace. It's that that data is much more real time because of the integration between the two, and you can view it from within Acumatica. Now, dashboards themselves, another one that can be very, very helpful. I don't know if anyone on the call here is in the CFMA or if you're not, but if you are in the CFMA, one of the really nice benefits of Acumatica is the integration with the CFMA benchmarking tool. By the way, just quick shout out to CFMA. I'm not even a member anymore. I used to be and really enjoyed my time there. It's the Construction Financial Management Association. There's chapters all over the country. Really great opportunities for networking with GCs if you're a sub, getting to know other peers if you're a GC, getting to know other people just in your industry always leads to good opportunities and learning. So informal shout out to CFMA. Definitely go and sign up. It's really worth your while. And if you work for a construction company, it's a very inexpensive thing to do. But CFMA has a benchmarking service, which can allow you to get comparisons to your peers in similar industries to see how you perform. And Acumatica integrates with that. So even if you don't submit your benchmark information to CFMA, which you can choose to opt in or opt out, you still get this dashboard that will show information on profitability ratios compared to your peers, information that just overall compares you to the benchmark information that's released annually. So it's the CFO dashboard is great for the finger on the pulse type perspective for your own company, but I don't really know of any other dashboards that really help you compare with your competitors and peers like this. And this is worth the price of admission with the CFMA, if you ask me, to get that type of insight. Now, obviously, this is a static screenshot. I even have that disclaimed here. That's just because I'm not a member of the CFMA and I don't want to submit false benchmark information. But this is a very, very nice tool that will show all kinds of great information, months in backlog for all companies in your region, all of those types of things. So definitely go check out the CFMA if this is of interest to you. The benchmarking is even helpful, even if you're not integrating it. You can submit this regardless of whatever ERP you're using, and it shows data from all different ERPs as well. So it's not like it's only looking at other companies that are using Acumatica. Okay. So with that said, I do want to also go a little bit further because this has just been very high level. As I'd mentioned, more of a finger on the pulse that's showing information about like your backlog and your current cash position and cash in versus cash out and WIP adjustment information and backlog, which is helpful, but you probably want to have a little bit more granularity in your dashboards. And that's where this project analysis dashboard can be extremely helpful. Now, again, this is something that is totally configurable, and it's something that was very different than this before I got my grubby hands into this dashboard and modified it myself. By the way, guys, so I'm a communications major, public university, University of Maryland, mid-tier public university, very lame major at that public university. I'm not an accountant. I'm not that smart. I have the ability to modify this stuff. It is very user-friendly to be able to do this. If I can figure it out, certainly you can. But, if you're looking at, hey, these design things and all of that, and you say, hey, we don't even really have anyone technical on our team whatsoever, part of our role here is to be able to enable you to do those types of things by doing some of that stuff for you or training you on that. So if you're looking at this and are intimidated to any extent, you don't have to be. For one, I'm not that smart and I've figured it out. For two, we'll help you if you don't have the time or desire to figure it out yourself. But this dashboard is powerful because it's looking at a much more granular perspective on the information that we started looking at on that CFO dashboard. So right here, what I'm doing is looking at all of my projects in a given portfolio. I can see that for commercial versus industrial, I have a very different perspective when it comes to average gross profit, but the average gross profit percentage is relatively similar. So you get these types of insights when you're able to group your projects by type or by region or even by PM. All of these filters that we're looking at right here are totally customizable as well. So if I wanted to throw a region up there, and if you wanted to put like a project type up there or a customer, you do have the ability to group them by all of those criteria. Same deal about looking at this for a particular project manager. We can even put a clever dynamic filter on this such that a user is able to log in and have all their projects automatically filtered by that PM. This can be a very helpful thing because even if you're using something like a Procore or another PM tool, those tools tend to be really good at managing individual projects, whereas managing a whole portfolio, seeing information on all change orders in your portfolio, all of your projects and the remaining estimate for them can be a really nice use case of these types of dashboards.
Hey,
I see
Mike,
that.
yeah, I was just going to say question. I don't know if you noticed it.
I did notice it. So
okay,
Manny,
all right.
yeah, Manny asked about, can you talk a little bit from an owner's perspective, looking at these projects from a long-term program level? Manny, I'm assuming what you mean by program is, so I come from the construction company I worked for, worked a lot with chain commercial restaurants. And, like Chipotle, for example, might have an initiative where they're refreshing the corrugated barn siding in their older stores. So, they for 150 projects, they're going to be able to, they're issuing POs for all of those, and then we're going to go out and actually work on them. And we want the status of not just the projects within them individually, but the program as a whole. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if that's the case, there's a couple of things that can be done there. One is you have the ability to use the field project grouping in order to dictate what those programs are. What I will say about Acumatica is all of these fields that you're looking at, we can customize and add additional fields to them. So project group, if we wanted to even rename this program, we certainly could. But there's the ability to add custom fields all throughout Acumatica. Believe it or not, project type is a custom field. And I have that coming from a dynamic dropdown. You can see in my attributes over here, that's where the commercial, industrial, retail, multi-unit is. So I've got a number of user-defined fields. If I wanted to set up a program for that corrugated barn siding project, for example, give that an identifier, then I could group that by the project type or by the project grouping here and report on that as a whole. Also, you could see user-defined fields can be up here as well. So if there's other information you want to capture, we can customize the software. And by the way, it's just as simple as going in and saying manage user-defined fields, which will allow me to then quickly add in project type right here. So it's a very easy lift to do that. And now that's permanently here in this user-defined field tab for me to be able to pull from. So very easy to segment your projects by that type of grouping. Manny, if you have any follow-ups on that, I'd be happy to answer that. That's a fantastic question. And I'd love to, if you want to dive into that in a little bit more depth, we could always do that in a one-off call as well. Thanks for the question, though. I appreciate it. Love questions. All right. So that's essentially what this is here too, the project type grouping by region or whatever. And it's also kind of a dashboard that not just helps you get a sense of your projects and how they're going, but it also does begin to do the other thing that Acumatica dashboards are really good at, managing to-dos, whether that's approvals, which by the way, it's easier to say what things cannot be approved, put through an approval map in Acumatica compared to the ones that can. Many softwares have approvals, but on things like AP bills, Acumatica, you could do AP bills, you could do change orders, you could do invoices, project activation, journal entries. As I said, it's easier to say the things that it won't do the approvals on. So very powerful approval maps, and it will surface here for your PMs or your users to be able to see what's assigned to them. Same with the to-dos. You can very easily go in and determine and assign things to your end users. And you could see it'll show like when those things are due. You can even have reminders. You can see clearly my wife has been logged into the system, shaved mustache, well overdue, but not happening probably. So you can have more than just analytics here. Communication, what's on my plate? Do I have any projects that are potentially unprofitable? I can have all of that information rendered here and take action on that information right from this screen. But it's more than just a way to monitor multiple projects and kind of perform a few tasks. This also is great for people that are in the back office that support the company, maybe as like an AP clerk or someone that's in collections. A dashboard like this, big colors that show what things that I've got to do, 110 documents to release, 51 bills to pay. The ability to go in here and drill into this information and see all of those bills and take action on them is what makes Acumatica so powerful. I've heard it said that when someone steps away from their computer at work and then comes back, it takes 22 and a half minutes on average for them to refocus on what they left or what they need to do next. These dashboards, because they are customizable and because you can put things like criteria on them to say, hey, give me an alarm or a warning color. And by the way, that can be customized too. When it reaches a certain threshold, you can have the system dictate what items are on fire, what items need attention. In this case, the bills to pay, documents to release, and all of that. So for your people that are trying to, stay on top of a bunch of responsibilities to support the company, we do have the ability to support them and keep them efficient through these dashboards as well. I think a little bit about my mom when I think about dashboards, because my mom is the least technical person I've met in my life. She needs help like printing things from you that she finds on the internet. She really is not very like, even something like this would look a little bit overwhelming to my mom. She'd log in and say, "Ooh, what's this?" Not the best impression of my mom, don't tell her. But um Acumatica can make it even simpler. I think of it as Karen approved. That's actually her name, because we can take even this type of information and make it much more simple. This AP homepage is a dashboard that I created in response to someone that was an AP clerk that was intimidated, frankly, by the dashboard that I had just shown. Even though that one felt relatively straightforward, it was like too busy for her, and she didn't even want to see like how many documents to release. She just wanted to see her responsibilities on one screen and be able to click into them and take action based on them. Even my mom is, and that's why I bring her up, would be able to look at this and know exactly what each of these icons represented. She might be a little offended by that icon that I selected for the AP aging. I don't know. She's got a good sense of humor. But this is something that can be drilled into as well. Believe it or not, this is just a static image that I created in PowerPoint. So we could use any image that you want whatsoever in order to make this a dashboard for your team. Clicking into AP bills and have that take them to preparing payments, reviewing expense claims and having that take you to the place where you have approvals on the expense claims. You have the ability to determine where every single one of these clicks take you. And that is something that can make it very powerful for your least technical users, for even them to log into the system and feel empowered that they can accomplish their day jobs and they're not taking a step back. Because, I don't know if this is the case for anyone that's on the call, but if you guys have been on the software that you're on for 15, 20 years, sometimes more, even if it is painful, you're going to have people that feel very used to the software that they've been using for a number of years, and they'll be resistant to change. Part of any ERP transition is change management, figuring out how to get people that are going to be using the system to buy into it. And this type of thing can be very helpful for change management, where you can show them exactly what their responsibilities are, make it very clear what processes they're involved in, and allow them to feel less intimidated and heck, even maybe more excited based on something like this. Happy ending to the story for the company that I did this for. They saw this and their team went from being very apprehensive about the switch to they were extremely excited about the switch based on this capability. And then, of course, we included this exact homepage for them when we went and configured it for them. So yeah, we can do this stuff for you and make it easy on your team. One other example I want to show, though, is one that I did recently. It's a little bit more advanced than the AP homepage, but similar concept. This is a project financial management 101 workflow. Now, a customer I was working with was the one that came up with this workflow. I can't raise my hand and take credit for being a total expert in project financial management, but he said to me, "Hey, workflows are really important to us. We want it to be abundantly clear what each person's responsibilities are as a part of the overall project flow." And so I was able to take the flow chart that they had already created and empower that to say, all right, the estimator is going to enter the budget. Let's click on that and have them go to the place where they'll import the budget from the estimating tool that they've been using or the spreadsheet that they've been using. Let's monitor all the change requests or the time cards, or look at all the approvals that are in the system. So we were able to empower this workflow, the work that they had already done, to be the basis of what they would use within Acumatica. So all their hard work we were able to take that hard work to the next level, inject it with, I don't know, steroids, I guess, and turn it into something that Acumatica could then take and run with in a much more robust way. I was even able to take the project manager block here and have it take me to the project manager's dashboard here, showing even more details of the KPIs that are relevant there. Same deal with AP, taking me to the AP clerk space. So if you have something like this or would want something like this, we can use Acumatica's dashboarding capabilities in that way to empower your team and to build on the work we've already done rather than start from scratch. Now, I know hopefully you guys feel like this is not just a sales tool after the time that I've spent kind of going through this pretty thoroughly, but dashboards for me, were an eye roll before I met Acumatica. And now it's something that really I judge the success of adoption based on. I really think that companies with a low ratio of users to dashboards, meaning that there's about as many dashboards as there are users in the system, those are the most successful users of Acumatica rather than the ones that don't really use them at all. So with that, I wanted to highlight a couple other things that Acumatica can do before I leave it open for where you guys want to go in the next few minutes. This is really just the tip of the iceberg because Acumatica is a full construction ERP with construction project management. It's got change orders, AIA billing. It's got a WIP out of the box. It's got projections and forecasting out of the box, time entry, payroll, CRM. I mean, it really is meant to be an all-in-one that can replace many much legacy systems and is a good fit for a ton of construction focused companies. There are cases where it's not a fit, and that's one thing that I'm very honest about when we talk is, which industries is this a wheelhouse fit for? Where do we need workarounds? Where do we need customization? The beauty of Acumatica is because it is a platform, it can be a fit for a lot of companies. It just would mean that, hey, we need to customize it, which can up the overall spend. But I'm very candid about that up front. So if that's something you want to discuss, we could have a one-off conversation about that if your specific company is a fit for Acumatica and what potential hiccups you might run into or where you might get some big process improvements. But, being in an older solution, a lot of times what that ends up resulting in is doing tons of things in Excel. And we're able to solve for that by doing things like having a WIP report automatically generating from within the system. Now, I know you would never run a WIP for 4 years, but just because of demo data, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And the WIP report will automatically be generated and allow you to look at your over/under billings right from within the system, always live with all kinds of industry standard things like contracts, committed cost projections, actuals, revenue that's been recognized, your over/under billings here, and backlog. Same deal with financial statements. If you're doing any of that manipulation in Excel, you do have the ability to bring that in-house within Acumatica. And if you have multiple different companies, sometimes like some systems really struggle with consolidating those and viewing them as separate companies. With Acumatica, that's very easy. I could look at different divisions, different companies, pare down an entire financial statement by that, and further, I can go parent, child, grandchild, great-grandchild for 1,000 generations, really, in terms of the breakdown level for these financial statements. And then if you don't have a project management tool in place, we integrate with a bunch. We also have project management within the system for ourselves, and that includes things like document control, RFIs, submittals, photo logs, drawing logs, estimated cost at completion, forecasting, change orders, subcontracts, purchase orders, and all of that. So a lot of functionality baked into the system here, and it's definitely something I'd love to explore with anyone on the call that wants to kind of go deeper here than we can today.
So, Mike, just looking at the screen here, the ones that have stars, are those are specifically like favorited, or is that something, or is that have you done that, or is that automated by the system because you've looked at those reports so much?
No, I built out a manual favorite here that pulls from all the different modules. You can very easily, I mean, if this looks like it's too much, I could very easily go in here and hide stuff that's not really relevant to me. Like maybe I don't really care too much about this subcontract because I have the legal agreement one that's here. I can hide all that stuff. So you can turn almost every menu into a favorites menu and favorite your own and not affect any other user when you do that yourself.
Understood. Got it. Yeah, I love how you show it in terms of the customizations and how easy it is. There's no code that needs to be adjusted. You just go into the design piece and then, you know, tweak it to whatever it makes sense for you and your role and what's important to you on a, you know, when you turn on the computer in the morning, what do you need to focus on? And like the different, like, you know, the different colors to represent you know, you're in good standing, you're getting close to being in trouble, or you're in trouble, you know, we need to work on that stuff.
Absolutely. One other thing to mention is that user security is something that can be modified pretty heavily here as well. So if I don't want a project manager to see anything but these two modules, I can revoke their permissions down to that level. I can remove specific screens from within each of these modules, and I can even remove individual fields. So I can get very robust with the permissions. Yeah, you can get very granular. They're not going to see things you don't want them to see. We can keep it very simple. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate you all attending and yeah, look forward to hopefully having further conversations about how this could help you.
Thank you so much.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Mike. Have a great
Bye.
day.
See you, bye.